proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub, is the Fantasy Football Power Hour. Week 17 fantasy football advice for 2021-2022 season. All of the games, as you can see, are on Sunday except for one, which is going to be played on Monday, January 3rd, when the Cleveland Browns, who have had a subpar season, take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, as always, we're happy to have Mr. Mike Sofka here hanging out with us where sports meets that thing called life. And once again, Mike, coming to you from Hall of Fame FantasyFootball.com. That's Hall of Fame FantasyFootball.com. And we always appreciate having Mike join us on the broadcast. So with that being said, let's bring him in. Mr. Sofka, how we doing?
I'm doing good. How are you, Dan?
Doing very well, sir, and you know, Merry Christmas once again. How were the festivities for you? How did everything end up going, and what can you tell me about Christmas your way?
Oh, it was wonderful. It was, friends, family, food, gifts, just the whole thing. And then, my birthday's around this time each year too, so I celebrate that. And, sometimes it's cumbersome because then my sister's birthday is today. So happy birthday, Donna, if you're listening. But all in all, it's one big celebration the last week in my family. So it's a good thing. It's good.
Yeah, and it's awesome, and a happy birthday over to you, and a Merry Christmas once again, and excited to be able to jump into football, which we're going to do immediately here, Mr. Sofka. But not before I ask you one simple question. What are you thankful for as we head out of 2021 and into 2022?
I'm thankful every day I get up that I open my eyes, I'm able to breathe and get out of bed. I mean, you can't put it simpler than that. I mean, anything on top of that's an additional blessing, but, just to be able to do what we do, it's all relative too. You may not be where you aspire to be in life, but it's all in perspective. It's all in how you look at it, because maybe you don't think you're where you need to be or doing what you need to do. Just keep going forward, because remember, there's somebody who was in your shoes that you were in a long time ago. They're in those shoes right now. And somebody else is in the shoes you're trying to get into. Going forward, not because that you're trying to compete with those people. It's just we're all trying to get better as human beings. We're all trying to make this thing work. And, we want to keep learning. We want to keep moving forward. So, I'm thankful for the simplest things. Anything on top of that's a blessing.
I would agree with you. Every day, thank you, God, for waking me up this morning. That is my prayer. That is my first thing out of my mouth. Should be the first thing out of my mouth every single morning, because it's a blessing just to wake up, like you said, open your eyelids and see that you got one more shot to do the right thing. So with that being said, we're going to try and do right by you by helping you with our fantasy football advice, something that we are proud to bring you every Wednesday in the second hour of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So with that being said, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub, let's hop right into it, Mr. Sofka. You can see the full slate of games right next to us here. If you have a question, you know where to send it. Atlanta at Buffalo. Mike, what do you got?
Yeah, the Falcons, had a okay week, I guess. They won, but they beat Detroit, big deal. And then you got Buffalo, who had a bigger game, and they won in a dominating fashion as well. So, it's two teams, two opposite directions. Even though the records are weirdly close, the Bills have won 9 games, the Falcons have won 7. Buffalo's a tough place to play, though, this time of year. It's going to be 24 degrees when the game is on. I don't know if it's going to be snowing or not, but irregardless, Josh Allen's still going to play stellar football. He's the number 1 overall quarterback on my ranking this week. And because of that defense and because of the lack of wide receivers in Atlanta, I got Matt Ryan down at 24 on the rankings. Looking over at the running back situation, Cordero Patterson, he's been having a great year, but it's going to be tough for them to get some runs going here in this one. He's number 21 on the ranking for us. And then Buffalo, it seemed like Devin Singletary wasn't going to be the guy that Zach Moss and Matt Breida. Then when those guys are healthy scratches, you're scratching your head. I got Devin Singletary at 13 this week. He seems to be that one steady Eddie guy that they can count on when he's healthy. And then you take a look at the wide receivers. Stephon Diggs, best wide receiver on the field for either team, number 6 on the rankings this week. And Russell Gage, the number 1 wide receiver right now for the Falcons. If I had told you that preseason, you'd have told me I lost my mind. Going over to tight end, Well, everybody had high expectations with Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts still doing great for a rookie, number 8 on the rankings here. Dawson Knox one notch ahead of him, number 7, touchdown dependent, but he's the red zone target they're looking for. This week is pivotal because a lot of teams are playing their championships this week, and you didn't come all this way not to do the right things, not to make the right moves. So make sure you know which teams are eliminated, which teams have something to play for. Make sure you know with this COVID thing, there's been 420 some odd players since December 13th test positive. Now, once again, for the second time in 2.5, 3 weeks, they're changing the protocols in the NFL. So you need to stay on this stuff. You need to stay on it all week long, every week. Don't throw your season out over I'll get to it tomorrow thing. No, just stay on top of your business like you've been all year long, and watch the COVID list, watch the Friday practice, and watch who's eliminated.
Yeah, and Mike, you're going Buffalo, I'm guessing?
Oh, yeah, Buffalo.
Yeah, so, and definitely, yes, make sure with the everything going on with COVID and whatnot, just please make sure that you are watching to make sure that your players are available to go. Things can really change in an instant, as we've all come to know, and I pray more than anything else that things will get better, that we will have proper leadership to navigate our way through this, and that we'll be healthy and safe and happy. That's all I care about, is our health and our safety and our happiness and our wellness moving forward, because we need each other and we need to work together. So I just pray and I hope that we do exactly that as we step forward here. With that being said, for me to go into this game, to take a look at what we have going on with Atlanta at Buffalo. On Atlanta's side, I told you Russell Gage was a deep sleeper going into the season. Now he is the top guy, like Mike said, because Julio Jones is gone, and Calvin Ridley's decided to take himself out of the game for now as he figures things out, and God willing he will, and things will be okay with him, and God bless in his journey. Russell Gage becoming number 1 because of all of that. He's still a very deep sleeper, a wide receiver 4 for you. Cordero Patterson could be a good flex for you. Really, Kyle Pitts is the one that I feel best about in Atlanta, and that's kind of a cut and paste from week to week. Josh Allen on the other side, they beat the Patriots. They had to do it. They had to get him head-to-head. They lost to him head-to-head. They had to get that one back. They got that one back, so good for them to take care of business. Josh Allen looking more like Josh Allen. I'm liking that. So definitely you got to play Josh Allen, which we've told you to do every week. And despite the fact that he has had some issue moving the ball, you got to believe that Josh Allen's going to get it done eventually, and he did against the right team at the right time, and hopefully they can continue that. Atlanta's been able to trip up some teams you kind of scratch your head at, but hopefully Buffalo will not be on that list as they move forward toward the playoffs. Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, definitely worth the plays. Gabriel Davis and Cole Beasley right now. Gabriel's on the COVID-19 list, and so is Cole, so you got to watch that. Dawson Knox gives him more value. Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen. Devin Singletary as a running back 3. More value with Buffalo, and I'm taking the Buffalo Bills to win this game. I'm not concerned about it on paper. I'm concerned about the fact that Atlanta's won some games that you scratch your head at. The Giants at the Bears, Mike, what do you got?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. Interesting because this is going to tell more about these teams' futures than anything. It's going to be real cold at this one, too, 16 degrees. So I can feel for those guys as I'm sitting here in 75-degree weather with the windows open and the breeze and the sunshine. 73 right now in Florida at 10:41 in the morning. It's crazy.
Nice.
Here we go. Sorry. Giants. And we're on a mic with the weather. Giants.
No, I'm just sitting here pissed off. However,
quarterback isn't a high priority for you in this game. I got Justin Fields at 22 on the rankings, and I got Mike Glennon at 35 on the rankings. We may even see some Jake Fromm in this, so they try to figure things out in New York. Going over to the running back situation, Saquon Barkley been dinged up all year, been dinged up in his career, number 22 on the rankings right now. And then looking at the Bears on the other side, David Montgomery's been pretty solid when he's been healthy. He's number 5 on the running back rankings this week. Looking at the wide receiver position, Darnell Mooney is the guy on Chicago that you want. Of course, you know that, 28 on the ranking. The highest ranking giant receiver on my ranking this week is Kadarius Toney at 42. So I'm staying away there. This is more about looking at things. This is almost like a preseason type game for these teams. Neither one of these teams are going to be in the playoffs here. If I think they've both been eliminated already. So, this is for, these guys are playing for contracts. These guys are playing for each other. These guys are playing for a job next year, even if they're a free agent, or I should say, especially if they're a free agent. But, the reason why these teams have records like they do is the players just haven't been playing as well as they could, or injuries, or whatever excuse you want to give. But these guys aren't playing for the playoffs anymore. Last position here, tight end. You could go with Evan Ingram at 21 if you really needed to, and a touchdown-dependent Cole Kmet at 17 on my rankings here. I'm going to take Chicago just because I have to pick a winner in this one. But Chicago's at home. That's who I'm going to go with.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those games. I mean, the Giants have been underwhelming, and this is again, another cut and paste it, right? They've changed some personnel, and they still look underwhelming. They are not playing, in games that they not look strong. They don't look tough. They don't look like they're scaring anybody. And that's just the reality of where we're at right now in their history, and it's a great unfortunate to see them be where they are right now. But this is the Giants, and until they make some changes, they're going to be sitting in this unfortunate spot. Chicago is in an unfortunate spot too because of injuries, because of, spending money on guys that didn't necessarily work out. So, I believe that Saquon Barkley, and I've said this over and over again, but I'm going to say it again. I believe when Saquon's rookie contract is done, he is done as a Giant. He is worth playing because it's hard to keep him off, but he's been so underwhelming this year. I put him out there as a running back too, and I mean, really, there's nobody else I feel good telling you to put out there for the Giants. On the Bears side of things, the unfortunate with Justin Fields is that he's been hurt. David Montgomery has value for you, though. Darnell Mooney has a little bit of value. And, Allen Robinson had a weight loss due to COVID-19, which could be affecting him a little bit here. Remember, guys like Joe Girard III that play basketball for Syracuse, they talked about even when he came back, it took him multiple games to get comfortable, if he was ever comfortable through the season, that what it took out of him, the amount of energy that it took, it was just hard for him to get back to it. So, God bless to each and everybody affected. Obviously to Allen Robinson, and hopeful that nobody loses their lives. And, I don't want to see anything happen. If it's weight loss, you can hopefully gain that back. So, if that's worst case scenario, then that's worst case scenario. But I want this to be over. I'm sad of seeing families get hurt. So Darnell Mooney, he gets more value in this game. He's a wide receiver 3. Montgomery, like I said, is worth the play. Saquon's worth the play. I got Montgomery over Saquon. And ultimately in this game, like Mike said, you got to pick somebody. So I'm going to pick the Bears too, reluctantly, because I just don't really like either one of these teams kind of where they are right now. Kansas City at Cincinnati. What do you got, Mike?
Yeah, this is a good game. I'm really interested in this, especially after Joe Burrow put up 500 yards on the Ravens last week. That was disgusting. And if there's a team that you'd expect to put up 500 yards, it's Kansas City, who's coming to Cincinnati to try some of that chili in the 28-degree weather on Sunday. I'm looking at the quarterbacks is where you got to look to start this one. Cincinnati's quarterback, Joe Burrow, again, 500 yards last week. I don't see him throwing for another 500 this week, but he should have a solid game. He's number 11 on the ranking. And Patrick Mahomes this week, number 2 against that Cincinnati defense. On the running backs, Clyde Edwards-Helaire got that bruise on his shoulder / collarbone, but that's not going to stop them from running the ball. And Darrell Williams has filled in very well when he's had the opportunity. He's number 10 on the running week. Going over to Cincinnati, Joe Mixon, as long as he's healthy, he's steady Eddie as well, number 8 this week. Going over to wide receiver Tyreek Hill, as long as he's on the field, he's in the top 10, usually top 5. This week, he's number 8 on the ranking. And then going over to Cincinnati, they have a couple guys stepping up. Last week, it was T. Higgins having a big game, number 12 this week. Jamar Chase, number 15 this week on the ranking. So, and Tyler Boyd not far behind at 32. So they have a magical trio. Plus, they're able to run the ball. Plus, they for 500 yards, so that's saying something. Looking at the tight end position, Travis Kelce was out last week with COVID protocols. He's number 2 on the ranking, and you have to go to C.J. Uzomah at number 18 if you want to play a Cincinnati tight end. I probably won't do that, though. Looking at this game, I want to pick Kansas City to win this game, but I'm going to go with the team I think is much hotter right now. Everybody says Kansas City's hot. I think the Bengals are red hot. I'm going to take the Bengals at home in the upset.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a great game as far as fantasy value goes, and I think there's going to be a lot to be had here in fantasy. I think there's a lot of importance in what's going on, and I think that there's going to be, obviously a lot to look forward to in the grand scheme of things here. I think Kansas City on their side of it, this is one of the, this is a team where it's typical cut and paste, but Kansas City hasn't been the Kansas City that we've expected them to be. If they can surge here late, then there's good to be had. But, Pat Mahomes, you got to put him out there. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is questionable with a shoulder injury. If he's able to play, you put him out there as a running back too. If not, like you said, Darrell Williams able to get his opportunities if and when Clyde Edwards-Helaire is not able to play. So just watch that. Tyreek Hill also worth the play for you. And Travis Kelce is questionable with undisclosed. So just make sure you watch the Travis Kelce thing coming off of COVID. And then on Cincinnati's side, Joe Burrow, of course, Joe has been lighting it up. What he did to Baltimore is just ridiculous. It's ruthless. I mean, that man nasty. That man put it on, put it on, put it on. If he was making a sandwich, he took that mayonnaise and used about half of it on that turkey sandwich. He just kept going, and he was incredible. Joe Burrow, what he has done in 2 seasons as a fantasy quarterback has been really awesome. I had him last year. I know the benefits of having him. Burrow, and he was playing from behind last year, throwing like crazy. Now the team's winning, and he's still throwing like crazy. So give some love to Joe B on that one. Joe Mixon, another guy worth the play. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, I got him as a lower-end wide receiver too. And C.J. Uzomah, I do like him as a low-end tight end 1, mid-range to low-end tight end 1. So a lot of good to be had here with both of these teams on fantasy. And this is really tough for me to make a selection as far as the Chiefs at the Bengals. But believe it or not, I believe in the Bengals more now than I believe in the current Chiefs. So I'm going to go with the Bengals to win this game as we move forward. Next one that we got up here, Mr. Sofka, is going to send us to Miami at Tennessee. What do you got?
Yeah, I like the quarterback situation in this. It's going to be interesting because, of course, Ryan Tannehill used to play quarterback for Miami, and the Dolphins have Tua right now, and I think Tua's playing about where I expect him to be playing. I mean, the NFL's a tough game, but, so for all the people that are, trying to take away from him, I think he's progressing, and I think the Dolphins are going to be just fine, and the Titans are doing just fine without Derrick Henry. Who would have thought that? Without Julio Jones. Who would have thought that for a period without Julio Jones and A.J. Brown? This is a team that's persevered. They haven't won them all like that, but they've won enough. They've won 10 games this year. They're going to be playing at home this week, 30 degrees. So Miami's going to be in the freezing temperatures. That usually doesn't bode well from teams from warm weather climates, of course. Looking at the quarterback situation, Tua number 19 this week. Ryan Tannehill, an okay quarterback who can get things done for his team, but he's not much better. He's number 15 on the rankings this week. Looking at the running back situation, they got Donta Foreman filling in for Derrick Henry, and Donta Foreman's a power runner. He's a straight up and down runner. He's kind of like Derrick Henry, number 26 on the rankings. And then I have to go down to the 50s on my rankings for Duke Johnson and Myles Gaskin. Going to have a committee type approach there. They're in the 50s. Looking at the wide receiver situation, Jalen Waddle, Tua's old college partner in crime. Jalen Waddle, number 11 on the ranking. I thought he was the best wide receiver in the draft. And then on the other side of the ball, I mean, even in-time Westbrook, Julio Jones is out. So you got A.J. Brown right next to Waddle almost on the ranking at number 9. And then going over the tight end position, I don't think Anthony Fursker is going to be a challenge for us to wonder how we're going to get him in the lineup because he's number 36 with Jeff Swain at 35 on the rankings. And then Miami's got Mike Gesicki. Mike Gesicki's usually a top 10 guy. He is again this week, number 9 on the rankings. I'm going to take Tennessee in the cold at home.
Yeah, Tennessee has just been tremendous. What they've been able to do, granted, and again, in the AFC South, the division is atrocious. Half of that division is just laughable at this point. But Tennessee's relevancy, it says a lot about Mike Vrabel. It says a lot about that coaching staff and what they've been able to do to keep this team top of mind and to keep this team in a place where they actually have some value toward the end of the season and playoffs and whatnot after losing their best player, a guy who can account for anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 yards of their offense just on the ground. With that being said, I'm going to go to Miami first here as they are the away team. Duke Johnson taking over here for Myles Gaskin. How about how strange this is? Let's flow with this for a second. Duke Johnson was a Texan, I believe, and so is Phillip Lindsay. Now they're both in Miami. I covered Duke Johnson when he was in Miami in college, which is ironic. So now he's back in Miami in front of familiar digs here, and he has ousted Myles Gaskin, at least for the time being. He's a late add as a flex. If you really got to stretch that team out, I look for him as like a 4 at running back, but he's still there. Jalen Waddle's got so much value. Mike Gesicki has value as well. On Tennessee's side of things, I like Ryan Tannehill because he's playing against his old team, so he's going to bring it. I do like him as a low-end QB1 this week. Dante Foreman is a running back 3. And then A.J. Brown, with him being back, he has value as a 1. And I don't trust anybody in the tight end room in Tennessee, as Mike so nicely put out. So I'm going to go with the Tennessee Titans just because this team just doesn't seem to really know how to lose, and I give them a lot of credit for that. I think that their fan base should be tremendously proud about what they've been able to do. I think that they probably thought without Derrick Henry they're going to have to pack it in, and all they've been doing is packing up the points and moving teams out. So I like that. I like what they've been able to push forward, and I can respect it for Tennessee in a division with my Jaguars where my Jaguars have fallen asleep at the wheel numerous times. Las Vegas at the Indianapolis Colts. What do you got?
Yeah, this is a COVID game. I mean, you look at the Raiders, got 13 guys on the list, and then you look at Indianapolis, they got just as many on the list. Carson Wentz, a notable. Both teams have a lot of defensive players and a lot of offensive and defensive linemen on the list. So this is definitely going to affect the outcome of this game. But again, with the newly revised protocols here, just check your stuff every day. Protect yourself in your lineup. Make sure you have alternative plans. If this guy don't get cleared, I'm going to have this guy. Get your act together. There's no reason why you can't do that. If you're in your championship, congratulations. I probably don't need to tell you these things, but at the same time, things have changed a little bit this week for the worse as far as the COVID situation again. So looking at this team, at this game right now, I'm not counting on Carson Wentz to make the game. I'm planning that Sam Ehlinger is going to be the quarterback. He's ranked number 30 on the ranking this week. Las Vegas has a little bit better situation with Derek Carr at 14, but I think the Indianapolis Colts defense has been playing very fast lately. Speaking of fast, Jonathan Taylor, number 1 running back on the rankings here, and Josh Jacobs not far behind at number 9. I think both of these teams are going to have a steady hand at running the ball, and then when they're done with that, they're going to run the ball some more because of the type of situation they're in involving player management personnel on the field. Hunter Renfrow checks in at number 14 for the Las Vegas Raiders on the wide receiver rankings, and Indianapolis Colts have Michael Pittman at 21. There's a tremendous drop-off after that on both sides of the ball. And then you look at the tight end situation. Darren Waller's been struggling to come back. I got him at number 20 on the ranking. Foster Moreau has been challenged to, and he hasn't really stepped up. He hasn't really gotten past, and maybe it was more game plan than anything, but he hasn't really filled in like we expected him to for Darren Waller. Darren Waller, though, is just a different guy. He's like a Gronk. This is a guy who's top 5 at his craft when he's 100%, but not right now. But this could end here. So, always check Friday's practice and check that COVID list daily. Do yourself a favor. There's no real line on this because of the number of players. There's like 26 players, or like 25% of the players are out right now with COVID for this team. So there's no Vegas line, but I'm still going to take Indianapolis at home.
Yeah, I mean, this is the unfortunate. And the thing is we look back at it and we had none of these issues. We had none of these issues. COVID's been around for almost 2 years now, and we had none of these problems. And now we're seeing chunks of teams just gone, just totally depleted, which is a horrible thing. Above all things, we just pray that they're healthy and safe and happy. And beyond that, that they can play, which comes after all that. Marcus Mariota's on the COVID list. Derek Carr is injured. So the question is, who's going to be your quarterback and how are you going to get it done? If Carr can be able to go, then that's a good thing. Josh Jacobs, though, he has the value. He's had the value with the Raiders. He continues to have the value because whoever is there, they're going to be running that rock, I would imagine. That lowers the value of the tight ends and the wide receivers. They don't have a ton of value right now anyways, except for a Darren Waller, who's questionable with a knee injury. So Foster Moreau and Hunter Renfrow should be very low on your list. If you're looking for somebody to fill in for you, I can understand that, but they should be wide receiver 4 opportunity, and then for Moreau, he should be lower on the tight end just because of what they have to deal with as far as, like Mike was talking about, with all of the people out with COVID, and then obviously the quarterback situation. This is really Josh Jacobs versus Jonathan Taylor. Michael Pittman's got some value, and Nyheim Hines does as well. But Hines has been left off and in free agency in a lot of leagues because he's not a giant get for you. He can help you in PPR, but it depends on how well he has a relationship with Sam Ehlinger, and you're rolling that dice. At least you know with Josh Jacobs and Jonathan Taylor that they can run the rock no matter who hands the ball to them. As long as they can put that ball in their chest, they're going to be running it home. So I'm going to pick the Raiders in this one, and I think this is going to be, fantasy-wise, a running back versus running back game. Next one, and Mike, did you go with the Colts or the Raiders?
I'm going Colts.
You're going Colts. Okay, I thought you went Colts, but I got really deep into this thing, and I blacked out in the moment. So, Jaguars at Patriots. What do you have for this?
Oh, it's a brutal game. If I told you Jacksonville was number 2 in the league in this one category, you would tell me I'm crazy. They're not number 2 in anything. They're number 2 in COVID guys right now. 17 guys on the list. That's crazy. So there's not a lot to pick from in Jacksonville right now anyway. So this game's going to be played in a moderate temperature. Surprise in New England. It's supposed to be 56 on Sunday. Jacksonville going to New England. So that bodes well for them. Vegas, the Sharps don't agree. 15.5 points for New England. I may take the Jags in this one if I'm taking the points, but I'll just tell you right now, of course, I'm taking the Patriots to win. Quarterback situation, hey, Trevor Lawrence, it's a learning year for him. Unfortunately, his growth has been stunted a little bit with the adversity they had to deal with the head coaching situation. So it's going to be even more challenging for him again, but hopefully he won't be too far behind. Number 25 on the ranking, Mac Jones, just a little bit above. He's used a little bit more effectively, and that's due to the coaching. So I don't think Mac Jones is that much better of a quarterback than Trevor Lawrence. I just think the coaching, the situation, the game plan, the players around him may be a little better. Mac Jones, number 18 on the quarterback ranking. Situation with running back, I feel bad. James Robinson, he's done, partially torn Achilles, I think it was. I'm doing that by memory. Damian Harris, 19 on the running back list for New England. So for Jacksonville, being James Robinson's on IR, done for the year here. Dare Ogunbowale, number 30 on the running back rankings here. And then Tavon Austin. Watch for them to get him more involved in the run game. I got him 45 on the ranking. Look for him on jet sweeps and look for him to be a red zone guy or a breakaway guy. Looking at the wide receiver situation, this is where the problems start for both teams. Neither one of these teams has that guy that can step up. You thought it was going to be Marvin Jones. He's at 44 this week. Laquan Treadwell's had flashes of brilliance, but nothing steady. And Jacoby Myers has been mired by just not catching the ball very well. Number 29 on the rankings still for New England. He's the prime target there for them. And then over at tight end, again, not much to pick from. You got James O'Shaughnessy at number 19 on the rankings. Hunter Henry, spotty at best. I got him number 11 this week against Jacksonville. Jacksonville does give it up to a lot of tight ends. Look for Hunter Henry to be a red zone and touchdown guy this weekend. I'm going to take the Patriots at home, but I don't think they're going to cover 15.5.
Well, it's going to be an interesting game. The last time that I saw this happen face-to-face, it was for the AFC Championship game, and that feels like it was 150 years ago. Jacksonville in this matchup, Mike, you're right. Trevor Lawrence has been marred. His progression and maturation process to the NFL from college has been affected by Urban Meyer and all that garbaggiosa that's been going on with the coaching staff and all of the issues that they've had to endure. So, unfortunately, Trevor Lawrence is having kind of technically like how they gave back the COVID year. He's going to have like a true freshman season in the NFL for 2 years. He's going to have one this year and one next year. So looking at this, there's not a lot of value. Raquel Armstead, I'm happy he's back with Jacksonville. Covered him at Temple. Hoping big things for the man. And we could see him out there at running back do a few things, but I'm not banking on anybody in Jacksonville. Mac Jones has value because he's playing the Jaguars. I got a low-end quarterback one, probably the highest I've had him ranked all season. Damian Harris has value with Ramondre Stevenson out on the COVID-19 list. Jacoby Myers has caught at least 4 passes in each of the last 5 games, but he's not good on yardage for the most part outside of one game where he had 98 yards and has not found the end zone except for one time in the last 5 weeks. So PPR, he'll get you a few points, but he's not going to get you a ton on yardage and not going to get you in the end zone. So that's something to watch. However, he is playing the Jaguars, so this could be the week to flex him out. Hunter Henry, this guy could have 2 to 3 touchdowns in this game. I'm going with the Patriots. I'm not even worried or concerned about my pick on this one. Next one that we got up here, Mr. Sofka, Tampa Bay at the Jets. How this game is for the Jets side of things. However, let me make note of something. The Jets and the Jaguars were fighting for first pick last year, and the Jets decided to keep winning at the end of the season. The Jets just beat the Jaguars head-to-head, which shows you where the Jaguars are at, setting the Jaguars closer to having the number 1 pick once again, as the Jets are somehow better than the Jaguars. What are your thoughts with them playing Tampa?
Yeah, well, the Jets have 15 or 16 guys on the COVID list here. Most of them, 10 of them are on defense. So that's not going to bode well with Tom Brady coming to town. That's not the kind of start you want to your week. But again, this could all change by week's end with all the changes in the protocols here. So again, stay on top of this. Tom Brady, he's Tom Brady. He's the GOAT. It took me a while to get there. It took me a few years. You've even heard me on this very program talk about how I didn't like him for years. But then I can't argue with hardware. I can't argue with rings. I can't argue with Lombardi trophies. It is what it is. He's the best. Number 4 on the rankings this week. Zach Wilson had a tremendous flash of brilliance in the last game on that long run. Juked like he was stepping out of bounds. Every time I second guess that pick, he does something like that. So he just needs to stay on the field and, again, grow. We sometimes forget, again, he's a rookie as well. Looking at the running back situation, this is where it's going to be a little bit different. Lenny Fournette was having a heck of a year, had a heck of a run at the end of last year. Dinged up. He's out. I think he's got an Achilles or something, too, lower extremity. Ronald Jones, number 17 on the rankings, coming in. But I don't expect it to be all Ronald Jones. I expect him to mix something else in there. But even against this weak New York Jet defense, Ronald Jones just number 17 on the rankings. And the Jets are going to have Michael Carter on the opposite side. Again, somewhat of a committee approach, but if there's one guy you had to pick, it's Michael Carter, number 20 on the rankings here. Antonio Brown finally has his opportunity to be a number 1 receiver on the team, and he proved his worth last week. He had 15 targets, 10 catches, 101 yards. Didn't find the end zone, but this is a guy who is a number 1 receiver, and he was, behind Godwin and Mike Evans. I mean, they had a good trio. It's good to have a problem like that. So when a real problem like this COVID stuff and injuries and stuff happens, you can resort back to what everybody else does with one primary receiver, and that's what they're doing with Antonio Brown. They got some other young guys that can fill in there, but nobody I would put on the field. And then on the New York Jets side, only if I had return yards in my scoring system would I consider playing Braxton Berrios, the highest ranked wide receiver for the Jets at number 33. You get return yards. He just returned one to the house last week. This is a guy who has speed and can find those holes, and he's gone. And then looking at the tight end position, just Gronk, nothing really on the other side for the Jets to speak of. Gronk number 3 on the rankings. I'm going to take Tampa Bay in a rout.
Yeah, Tampa Bay, I mean, listen, the Jets were able to beat at home a team from Florida, but that was Jacksonville. And you look at a tale of two teams. Jaguars last year, number 1 pick, Tampa Bay Super Bowl champions. This year looks like Jaguars number 1 pick, Tampa, we'll see where they end up. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Tom Brady worth the play, Ronald Jones worth the play. Mike Evans, if he's able to go, we look at it right now, and he is... Oh, no, he's on the COVID-19 list. Pardon me. So Antonio Brown, unless he comes off that list sometime soon here, you got to watch that one. So Antonio Brown worth the play, Gronk worth the play as well. And on the other side of it, Michael Carter is really the only one I would tell you to put out there. For the Jets, keep it simple and make it easy for you on this one. And I have the Bucs winning this matchup. Not concerned about it by any stretch of the imagination, as Tom Brady has fumbled a little bit here with some teams out there, but I think he'll be okay against the Jets. Philadelphia at Washington, Mike, what do you got?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. Washington coming off a complete throttling in Dallas. They got demolished. And the Eagles, well, they dominated the Giants. So these are teams headed in two different directions here, obviously. You know, the situation at quarterback, Jalen Hurts doesn't look like a top quarterback when he's on the field. He doesn't look like Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, even Dak Prescott, Aaron Rodgers, Kyler Murray, Justin Herbert, Matt Stafford. He doesn't look like Joe Burrow. He doesn't look like any of these guys. But somehow, some way, through his legs and through the air, he's an excellent fantasy quarterback, and that's what it's about here. Number 3 on the rankings this week. On the other side of the ball, though, for Washington, they've been struggling. I think Taylor Heineke is going to be back this week, but I don't know what he's going to be able to give. They've been hurting at quarterback. Taylor Heineke's had some games of brilliance. I'm just not counting on it this week. I've got him number 20. Looking at the running back situation, probably a Boston Scott's the best option right now. Miles Sanders dinged up. Number 31 on the rankings. And for Washington, Antonio Gibson, who's been playing basically with a broken leg. I mean, it's a hairline fracture in the shin, and that's a dangerous situation when you're a running back, especially because you don't want to make that situation worse. But he's been able to play through that and power through that, even against what I thought he could. He's number 11 on the running back rankings. I think that's more on the backside of that injury right now. Looking at the wide receiver situation, scary Terry McLaurin, number 27 on the rankings. Devonta Smith just above him at 26 on the wide receiver rankings. And a tremendous drop-off after that. Looking at the tight end position, Dallas Goedert, number 6 on the tight end rankings. And then for Washington struggling to find that identity at the tight end position due to injuries to Logan Thomas and company. I'm going to take Philadelphia on the road, even though it's not that far down the road, at Washington.
Yeah, Philadelphia. I mean, this is the NFC East, a big-time matchup. Once again, I just have to, make mention, and Mike said it, Jalen Hurts, whatever you think of him as a quarterback, he gets it done. He makes it happen. And apparently it's been stated that this is Jalen Hurts' team. This is not a controversy between him and Gardner Minshew. So Hurts is worth the play. Miles Sanders has a broken hand, but somehow they're going to try and bring him back next week maybe. Boston Scott has the value as a running back 3, lower end 2, high end 3 for Philadelphia in this. Jalen Hurts definitely worth the play. Devontae Smith worth the play. And Dallas Goedert worth the play, a mid-range tight end 1. On the other side of it, Antonio Gibson and Terry McLaurin. I'm going to make it easy for you, and I'm going to say this one more time. Pick a freaking name. There's 32 football teams, Washington. Calling yourself a football team is stating the obvious. I don't care if you call yourselves the Washington Paint Dryers, the Washington Doorknobs, the Washington, floor plates, the Washington... whatever you want to call yourself. Whatever you feel the need to do, figure it out, make it happen. You can't call yourself the Washington Bullets. That's been taken off the table, as well as the Redskins. So you can call yourself literally anything else. The Washington Netflix and chills, I don't care what you call yourself. Just figure it out. Next game, and I'm going to go with Philadelphia in this one. Rams at the Ravens. I'm excited for this game, but the Rams are in good footing. The Ravens are losing their feet right now, kind of falling out from under them. What do you have, Mike?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. Interesting because the Ravens have been getting throttled without Lamar Jackson. They're going to continue on without Lamar Jackson. Looks like Tyler Huntley should be back as well. Number 28 on the rankings. The Rams have the opposite situation. They got a pretty good quarterback. Yeah, he's had some challenges. Yeah, he's had some bad games. But overall, he's a top 10 quarterback. Number 9 on the rankings. Baltimore likes to give it up through the secondary there. Looking at the running back situation, Baltimore's got Devonta Freeman in the 30s. In the 20s. He's number 28 on the rankings. And on the other side of the ball, we may see Cam Akers back this week. I don't look for him to have a dominating role. But, due to injuries, they were going to have just Sony Michel. Sony Michel, number 16 on the rankings this week. So look for Cam Akers. If you have a championship in week 18 in your league, go ahead and see if you can find a bench spot for him now. He was available last week in a lot of leagues. I scooped him up because I didn't know what his status was going to be for week 17, but he's going to play this week. So I'm not expecting a lot out of him. He's not a starter, but in leagues where I have a championship in week 18, which I totally disagree with, but it is what it is. Look for something like that. That could be the spark to push you over the edge, because the other team that makes it to the championship, I got news for you. They're probably just as good as your team. Looking at the wide receiver position, this is where there's a little bit of separation. Marquise Hollywood-Brown, number 16 on the rankings, but Cooper Kupp is number 1 overall. Everybody sees that. He's number 1 in touchdowns, receptions, yardage, yak, all that fun stuff. He's the number 1 guy, and they know it. I see him making grabs in triple coverage. This guy's incredible, and that opens things up for a guy like Odell Beckham, who's been struggling as a number 1 in other places. He doesn't have to be that number 1 here. If anything, he's struggling to stay on the field, but he's been able to do it in the past couple games, so hats off to him. Number 24 on the rankings, and then Van Jefferson has really come on out of that slot. So this is a guy who, even though he's a second-year player, this is a guy who's been able to get it done. Looking at the tight end position, this is where there's a little bit of a difference as well. Tyler Higbee is number 13 on the rankings, but then you got Mark Andrews, number 1 tight end last week, number 1 tight end this week, even ahead of Travis Kelce. You got to have you some Mark Andrews. So looking at this game, I don't see how I can pick against the Rams, even though it's in Baltimore. It's going to be in 57-degree weather. I don't think weather's going to be an issue. I don't think travel's going to be an issue. I think the only issue we're going to have is quarterback for Baltimore and the Baltimore secondary. Hopefully they show up for the game, but still, I'm taking the Rams.
Yeah, in Baltimore, and again, we're looking at quarterback here. Tyler Huntley is on the COVID list. Josh Johnson has stepped up here. Josh Johnson, 65.9% completion percentage when he played on November 4th at the Colts, 317 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. December 26th at the Bengals, 70% completion percentage, 304 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. That's the same Josh Johnson that started off his career in Tampa and has resurrected it with Baltimore to a certain extent. Rams side, Matt Stafford, worth the play. If Cam Akers is able to come back, you should put him out there as one of your 3 running backs. Not your top 2, but you could slip him right in there and give him an opportunity. Cooper Kupp, obviously. Odell Beckham Jr. and Van Jefferson, I have them both as wide receiver 3s. I got Cooper Kupp as a dominant 1, as you know. And then Tyler Higbee has some value to me, but Tyler Higbee, a lower-end tight end 1. On the other side of it for Baltimore, Josh Johnson has some value in fantasy, but I don't know if you can lean on it, especially against the Rams defense. Devonta Freeman and Latavius Murray doing their thing out there. Devonta Freeman has more of an opportunity, but if you're going to play fantasy value, it's Marquise Hollywood-Brown and Mark Andrews. And if Josh Johnson is able to throw it as well as he's thrown it in the few games he's played in, look for Brown and Andrews to potentially get themselves involved and get into the end zone for you to get you some life for these Baltimore Ravens. But I got the Rams winning this game without too much of an issue. Next game that we have up here, Mike is going to take us right before our first fast break. Denver at the Chargers. What do you have for this?
Yeah, I like this game a lot. However, the Chargers have like 16 guys on the COVID list. But again, this could change come the weekend. But just this is where we are now. So I'm dealing with what we have right now here on the rankings. Looking at the quarterback situation, a big separation here because, Justin Herbert, even though he's had a couple bad spots here, overall, he's been pretty solid for a second-year player. Outstanding rookie game, a little bit of a sophomore slump, but not so bad that he's killing his team. He hasn't helped it all the time, though. Number 7 on the rankings. They're doing a little better in Denver, as though Teddy Bridgewater at number 29 should be back this week. Looking at the running game here, Austin Eckler was out last week, COVID. This week, he's going to be back. He's number 2 on the running back rankings. Hopefully you listened. Hopefully you saw it in the Facebook group, Winning Fantasy Football. Those people who went out and picked up Justin Jackson, he went on a tear last week, and those people just picked him up off the free agent market like it was nothing, plugged him right into their lineups, and are in the championship game because of that. So hopefully you're part of that. If not, shame on you. Be part of it next year. But looking at the running back situation for Denver, they have Javonte Williams, who's just a strong runner, number 15 on the rankings this week. And he split some of those carries with Melvin Gordon. That's probably the best thing for both of those guys. I don't think it really hurts those guys too much because I think that's exactly what both of these guys need. They need each other. So Melvin Gordon, number 27 on the rankings here. Looking at the wide receiver situation, I got to go way down to number 51 to find Cortland Sutton for the Broncos here. And then for the Chargers, of course, it's Keenan Allen. He's the man at number 5. So, you got Keenan Allen on your team. You're probably in the championship. Look for Josh Palmer to step up this week as well, but I'm not starting him. Looking at the tight end position, again, this is where it's a little bit different than most games because, neither one of these teams really has that star guy. Maybe you're looking at a Albert Okwuegbunam. Say that 10 times real fast and backwards. Looking at the other side of the ball, though, you want guys to step up. You want something to happen. I want to see a Donald Palmer, but due to injuries and COVID and all this stuff, you're not going to see these guys step up. Jared Cook is very touchdown dependent. He's very red zone dependent. He's number 12 on the rankings. So usually I'm harder on tight ends than I am the other positions. I can't afford just to have a top 12 guy. I need to have a top 4 guy. I need to have a top 5 guy because there's that much separation from those top 4 or 5 down to 10 or 12. It could be a difference between winning and losing. So Jared Cook, number 12. Chargers are dinged up. The Chargers are at home, though. And with the changes to the COVID protocol, I'm going to go with the team with the better quarterback, and I think that's the Chargers. I'm going to take the Chargers at home.
Yeah, Denver, like you said, this team is good with Teddy Bridgewater under center. If he's able to play in this game, then he has some value here. He's questionable coming off of a concussion. God willing, he is able to go. He is a game changer when he's out there. He's done more to add to the value of guys that are obviously out here in their receiving core and opening up the running attack because he can pass the ball well. So, I do like what Teddy can do. If Teddy's able to play, then I like Jerry Jeudy even more. Cortland Sutton, minimal production. Sad to see where he's at right now. Tim Patrick has not had a lot going on. So it's really Jerry Jeudy and Noah Fant. Noah Fant, like you said, not in the top 5 tight ends, but he's somewhere. So, I like Jerry Jeudy. Noah Fant has some value. Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon still sharing time. I like Javonte more than Melvin. But if you're in a championship and you can handcuff him, put him out there, or if you have Melvin, it's not a bad play to have going up against the Chargers. And Mike said, obviously having some depletion there. Justin Herbert worth the play in this game. Keenan Allen as well. Mike Williams right now on the COVID-19 list, what gives more value to Keenan Allen and maybe more value to Jared Cook, who had 44 yards in the loss, which is not too shabby for a tight end. A tough game to pick here. It's a AFC West divisional game, but I'm going to agree with Mike, and I'm going to pick the Chargers in this matchup to take care of business. With that being said, Mike and I are going to take a step aside for a fast break. We're inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios, and not only are we inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios, but we are here inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. Indoor dining for you 7 days a week. Every single game on the TVs. You don't have to worry about it, folks. They have your NFL ticket and so much more taken care of. Plenty of games for you on the courts and the fields of life. And, of course, they are there for you for takeout and delivery. If you like to order in for the day or order to your office, 315-487-2222. That's 315-487-2222. And Greg's saying Palmer's an interesting play based on the COVID hits at wide receiver for the Chargers. Yeah, somebody that you could look at there, Josh Palmer, to potentially put out there. But you got to get interesting. You got to get a little bit innovative here with injuries going on, and Austin Eckler being back. I think he's worth the play as well. So apologize on not mentioning that before. We'll take a quick step aside on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. When we spin back around, plenty more coming up for you. Next game on the docket, Houston at San Francisco. Right after this fast break where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if they don't shop at Honda City.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career. It's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. Proud to be hanging out with you inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios, and of course, right here in the midst of the Fantasy Football Power Hour. You heard me say the, not one of, not a, but the Fantasy Football Power Hour, bringing you through every single week of the NFL regular season and your fantasy season and so much more. Mike and I are here with you every single Wednesday. We do not take the year off. We do not say fantasy football is only through the regular season of the NFL. For us, it's year-round, and it's so exciting. It helps to make the season feel like it's never truly gone. It bridges the gap from last season to this season, and Mike and I get to have a ton of fun along the way and always have awesome stuff to talk about. So very happy and very much looking forward to all the great things to come with Mr. Sofka. And with that being said, we continue our conversation in Week 17 for fantasy football advice. Mike, next game up that we have to talk about, Houston at San Francisco. What do you got?
Well, Jimmy Garoppolo is out with a thumb injury here at UCL, so that may be the last time we see Jimmy Garoppolo as a San Francisco 49er outside of something miraculous, a recovery and so forth in the playoffs. So Trey Lance going to step in, and I think he steps in real well against the relatively weak Houston team. Houston has 18 guys on the COVID list, 12 of them are on defense. So Trey Lance checking in at number 10 on the rankings this week for the 8-7 Niners, playing at home, 52-degree weather. Houston coming in with the opposite situation of quarterback. They have a rookie quarterback in Davis Mills, who I think was very underrated coming out, but this is a guy who doesn't have a lot of pieces around him. He's number 31 on the list this week for the Houston Texans. Looking at the running back situation, Elijah Mitchell should be fully back now, and he's going to split carries with Jeff Wilson. These guys are going to kind of cannibalize each other fantasy-wise, but it's going to look good as far as team-wise on the field. Elijah Mitchell at 37, Jeff Wilson at 38. And then you take a look on the other side of the ball there for the Texans. You know, maybe a Rex Burkhead again. I mean, if I told you at the beginning of the year I'd be talking about Rex Burkhead with having fantasy relevance, you would have told me I was crazy. But he's number 24 on the rankings this week. Looking over at the wide receiver situation, Brandon Cooks is in the 40s for me, 46 on the rankings for Houston. Meanwhile, on the other side of the ball, they have a guy who just always seems to get it done. Deebo Samuel, again, he runs these jet sweeps. They're not afraid to hand him the ball, a la Cordero Patterson. They're not afraid to throw him the ball. He makes a dynamic play every game. This is the dangerous man in the open field. They try to get him the ball in space. Deebo Samuel, number 7 on the wide receiver rankings. Then you go over to tight end, and George Kittle's always a top 5. Number 5 on the rankings this week. And on the Houston side, I could stretch and go with maybe a Pharaoh Brown, but Brevin Jordan looks like the better option, the young rook out of I forgot where he went to school now. That's embarrassing. Number 23 on the rankings this week, though. I'm going to take San Fran big time at home.
Yeah, you know, I mean, this Houston is just, I mean, the only team that makes Houston look good is Jacksonville. That's the only team. So outside of that, I mean, there's not Davis Mills coming out of Stanford. I was excited that they drafted him in the 3rd round. A little insurance policy for the Deshaun Watson situation, and I like it. Tyrod Taylor has been in and out, and even with him back right now, Tyrod Taylor is not the starter. Davis Mills has been able to keep it, which I think is a fantastic testament to the rookie's ability to do some good things here on a team that's really not that good. Davis Mills, excited to see him out there, excited to watch him, but not excited to put him out there for fantasy football. Brandon Cook's the only guy I would tell you to play for Houston, and he's on the COVID-19 list, so nobody for Houston. On the other side, Trey Lance has some value here, especially because he's playing Houston and their defense and their team. So Trey Lance definitely has some value here as a QB1. Not the highest of the high, but he's there because he has value. Elijah Mitchell right now is questionable with a knee injury. Jeff Wilson Jr., between the two of them, Mike had him 37 and 38, Mitchell and Wilson respectively. I would have Wilson a little bit above Mitchell in this, and Jeff Wilson, for me, I'd put him as a running back 3, but he does have some value. Deebo Samuel, George Kittle have value as well. Brandon Ayuk with some value because he's playing Houston. San Fran's got all the fantasy value. San Fran's going to get the victory, in my opinion, in this matchup. Next game that we have going on here, Mr. Sofka, inside of Week 17 in our fantasy football advice for the 2021-2022 season will take us to Arizona at Dallas. Big-time game. Dallas surging, Arizona kind of sparking out a little bit here. What do you got?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. There's a lot of fantasy value in this game. It's kind of weird to say that, but that's where we are this time of year here. Dallas 11-4, Arizona 10-5. You know, it doesn't matter what the weather is. Of course, Dallas covered stadium here. This is a situation where Dallas is probably going to end up winning this game at home. The Cardinals can't seem to put one away when they need to. Let's take a look at the rankings here. I got Dak Prescott at number 5 this week, so he's the better quarterback this week. Kyler Murray surprisingly down to number 8, and that's because he's having problems at receiver. Going over to running back, well, he's also had problems at running back. Chase Edmonds is the guy right now, 18 on the ranking, and Connor's been hurt. He's probably not going to make this game either. So looking at the other side of the ball, Zeke has had a down year, but he's number 12 on the ranking. Of course, you got to include Tony Pollard. You know, when he's healthy, he can be a solid flex for you. He's number 25 on the rankings here. Looking at the wide receiver, this is where the big separation is going to be for both teams. CeeDee Lamb, number 13 on the rankings. Amari Cooper, number 19. But on the other side of the ball, best I can do is Christian Kirk at number 18. So these guys are, you know, have a different. AJ Green, though, has stepped up. I mean, for a guy that's 154 years old, but you know, he's not a starting wide receiver for me. He's number 47 on my rankings this week. Tight end, you can make a little money at, though. Zach Ertz, number 10 on the ranking here. And Dalton Schultz, touchdown-dependent and red zone-dependent guy, but he's going to deliver for you. He's number 4 on the tight end ranking this week. I'm going to go with Dallas at home.
Yeah, you know, we got a heel injury for James Conner's left him questionable. I know this man has fought cancer and fought injuries and fought his way back. Hopefully he will do that again if he's able to play, put him out there. If not, Chase Edmonds has some value, but I wouldn't have him high. I'd have him as a running back 4 probably, running back 3 or a 4 against Dallas. I like James Conner, though. Kyler Murray, worth the play. Christian Kirk, worth the play. And Ertz, worth the play as well for the Dallas Cowboys. But watch their defense if you lose points for certain things that happen with the quarterback, interceptions and whatnot. I think Dallas is going to be electrifying here. They're riding a high. Dak Prescott, Zeke Elliott, both worth the play in this. Tony Pollard, also worth the play. On Sunday Night Football, got 50 yards combined, so he's going to get you something. CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper and Dalton Schultz, more fantasy value on the side of the Cowboys, believe it or not, than on the Cardinals, and I'm going to go with the Cowboys to continue to surge. And the Cardinals are going to have to figure things out because the Rams got the Ravens, and I see the Rams winning, and the Cardinals continue to falter here, slipping out of their own nest, and the Cowboys seem to be rising up here. Not good for Arizona, who was in the lead, but now the Rams and the Cowboys have an opportunity to take that as they go into the NFC side of the playoffs. Carolina at New Orleans, Mike, what do you got?
Yeah, it's an interesting game because, you know, it seems that Taysom Hill has cooled off or dropped off a little bit. There's 17 players on the COVID list for the Saints right now as well, so this is going to be interesting in that respect where you're kind of balancing it out. Carolina's already eliminated. It's on the road, New Orleans, where New Orleans really does well, but, you know, a third of their team is out with COVID. So, you know, but again, you got to follow through at the end of the week, see what's going on. Looking at the quarterback situation, they know Taysom Hill is going to run the ball. Everybody knows it. He's number 17 on the quarterback ranking because of that extra man in the box. That's going to hurt Alvin Kamara, too. We'll get to that in a minute. Carolina's rotating quarterbacks in the last game with Sam Darnold and Cam Newton. You know, Cam getting the traditional red zone opportunities or short yardage type situation, but I'm not playing either one of these guys at quarterback this week, especially. I probably don't have them on my team if I'm still alive here in my fantasy league. Looking at Carolina for running back, you would thought Chuba Hubbard was just going to step in and take off. He's been the first couple of downs guy. He's been the runner between the tackles more so. Amir Abdullah is the guy more so that's on the field for obvious passing situations. So Amir Abdullah is number 40 and Chuba Hubbard's number 48. Even though Chuba Hubbard's technically the starter there, Carolina's going to be playing from behind, so they're going to be passing a lot. So you got to take game plan. You got to take what's probably going to happen into the game in consideration when you're ranking players and giving them projections. Looking on the other side of the ball, Alvin Kamara is going to be hurt by that extra man in the box, like I talked about with Taysom Hill before. He's number 14 on the ranking this week. Looking over at the wide receiver, there's really nothing on either side that I'm really solid about playing. I mean, DJ Moore is the highest ranked wide receiver on the field at 23. Robbie Anderson at 39. New Orleans doesn't have anybody to speak of because of the running quarterback situation. And then you look at tight end. This is where you think, okay, well, obviously each team has a stud tight end. Wrong. Not going to happen there. I'm not even looking at that for this game. So there's some fantasy relevance in this game. Carolina's already eliminated. Look for a lot of young players to be playing. Maybe you start scouting for next fantasy season. I got New Orleans winning this one at home.
Yeah, New Orleans. I mean, this season for New Orleans has just been up and down and around the corner. You know, it's been a questionable season, and for Carolina, I mean, how strange has it been? The non-Drew Brees Saints have some moments, but are kind of reeling. They've played 4 different quarterbacks this year, and then you look at the other side of things with Carolina, who were okay getting rid of Cam Newton. It took them a little while. They parted ways with him. They brought in Teddy Bridgewater, didn't even keep him a calendar year. They had Will Grier. He's now on the Cowboys. P.J. Walker. Then they bring back Cam Newton, who they were okay letting go of before. Just a very strange situation in Carolina to see this quarterback situation, and a sad situation when we look at, you know, the New Orleans Saints, a team that used to be strong here, and especially at the quarterback situation, if nowhere else. And let me be clear about something. Notre Dame quarterbacks in recent history do not translate. I talk about, okay, there's the history, like Joe Theismann. Love Joe Theismann, good friend of mine. Okay, let me be clear. Notre Dame historically has been good, but in the here and now, they struggle. And that's why I don't like their whole conversation in the college football playoff, because it's not about history, it's about now. And it's not about history, it's about now when it comes to quarterbacks from Notre Dame. And none of them have translated to the NFL. I think it's like 20-something straight losses and debuts or something ridiculous at this point. So it's horrible to see it. And I just want to let it be known that you can't base history on where we're at right now. You have to be what it is in this moment. Joe Theismann was really good. Notre Dame quarterbacks lately haven't been that good in the NFL. Looking at Carolina, Cam Newton is worth the play because it's Cam and he likes himself. Chuba Hubbard is worth the play in this game too because he's playing up against the Saints. I got him as a lower end 2, higher end 3 at running back, and DJ Moore has some value, but DJ Moore has underwhelmed me. The quarterback situation in New Orleans, like I said, Ian Book is the only guy not on the injury report. So, and he struggled in his NFL debut. That gives value to Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram. So Mark didn't get a lot of carries. Kamara has the majority of the value. Mark is a stretch. It's really Kamara. To be completely honest, it's Cam Newton and a little bit of Chuba, but really it's Cam versus Kamara in this one. And I'm going to go with, this is such an ugly game. I know Mike went with the Saints at home. I'm going to have to say I'm going to pick the Saints at home because they're at home. Both of these teams are just ugly right now, but I'm going to go with the Saints to try and find a way to figure things out on their home field, I guess. It's just not a good situation. Detroit at Seattle. Detroit wants to win some games. Seattle don't want to win nothing. What do you have for this one, Mike?
Yeah, you know, neither team is playing for anything. They're both eliminated from playoff contention, but there is some fantasy value here in this game. You just have to sift through a lot of manure to get through the diamonds here. And one of those diamonds is Russell Wilson. Even though he's having a down year, you could still count on him to be a steady Eddie guy. I wouldn't count on him to carry the team, but you know, you already know this by now. He's number 12 on the rankings this week. Jared Goff is number 26 on the rankings. You know, I look at this game, and if you just look at the quarterback, you're thinking, whoa, it's Russell Wilson. He's at home. He's going to cook and all this. Yeah, and not so much. Not with the feistiness of Detroit. Detroit is a feisty team. They're playing for their coach. Those guys believe in that coach. We laugh at him biting kneecaps and all this other stuff, but the players, if you listen to the players, they believe in that coach. They walk through walls for that guy. So that's a good start for Detroit that lay that foundation with that relationship with the players. You look at teams that were the opposite of that, like Urban Meyer and Jacksonville. He couldn't relate to the players. The player was running through a wall for Urban Meyer. So anyway, going over to running back in this game, DeAndre Swift, number 34 on the ranking. Jamal Williams not far behind at 39. Both of those guys should be back on the field. Seattle's been dependent on Rashad Penny. He's number 23 on the running back rankings. Dallas at number 41. Going over to wide receiver, this is a big difference for both of these teams. Amon-Ra St. Brown has been steadily climbing each week. He's number 17 on the rankings. This is a guy you gotta get on the field. If you can still pick him up because he's not a big name, but he is getting it done on a very bad team, and they are going to be throwing the ball. They got nothing to lose. Tyler Lockett, number 20 on the rankings here, and then DK Metcalf is not far behind him at 25. Going over to tight end, a little bit of a difference here with Gerald Everett being number 14. TJ Hawkinson would normally be up there in top 5, but he's hurt, and they're desperately seeking somebody to take back over for him. But Amon-Ra St. Brown appears to be the only guy that really is stepping up on that team in the receiving corps. So looking at this game, I want to say Seattle's going to win. I want to say Seattle's going to dominate. And I'm going to say Seattle's going to win this game, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Lions made a game out of it or even stole this one.
I don't like anything I see on the Lions roster right now. There's a bunch of injured guys. There's guys that aren't even visible anymore. Amon-Ra St. Brown, if you want to go to a sleeper and try and pull something off there, I understand it and I respect it. So I do think he gives you some value this week. Russell Wilson on the other side has been somewhat underwhelming. He's playing Detroit, and this will be the perfect game for him to continue to make mistakes. Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, they're worth playing and putting out there. They don't have as much value as they had, but Amon-Ra St. Brown, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, the receivers have value in this. I'm going to give the win to I'm going to give it to the Seahawks. But I'm reluctant. Well, I don't want to say reluctantly giving it to them. I think they will win this game. I just think that Russell Wilson may continue to have some woes, and we'll see where we are from that point. So I'm going to say Seahawks in this matchup. We'll take our final step aside on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora of today's broadcast. Inside the Cafe Kubal Studios, you are watching and listening to the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub. Every game, every team, wall-to-wall. Mike Sofka of Hall of Fame FantasyFootball.com. Myself, Dan Tortora of WakeUpCallDT.com. Here for you every Wednesday from 10 to 11 at least Eastern Time in the morning. And happy to be here and answer your questions. We appreciate you so much. We'll be back right after this fast break. In the meantime, check out the menu for the Wildcat Sports Pub. You can order takeout and delivery 315-487-2222. That's 315-487-2222. For those of you watching in Central and Upstate New York that want to grab some lunch, and of course you can go in there Monday through Sunday, 7 days a week, to 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. So with that being said, we'll take a step aside. We'll be back with Sunday and Monday Night Football inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour right after this.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Kubal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafekubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Kubal needs. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. We're inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios, Cafe Kubal, 3501 James Street and 401 South Salina Street in Syracuse, New York, inside of Golisano's Children's Hospital in downtown Syracuse, and on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York. In their giant behemoth of a brown stripe building, now with expanded parking and 2 levels to enjoy your coffee, tea, and all your treats. And of course, there for you in the drive-through location where you could dine inside or drive right through at the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in North Syracuse. With that being said, we're inside of the Fantasy Football Power Hour with Mr. Mike Sofka, my co-host of the many years of doing fantasy football here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Sunday Night Football, Minnesota at Green Bay. Mike, what do you got?
Yeah, I like this game a lot. This game has some fantasy value to it. Both teams, obviously the Packers alive here, but, Minnesota's still in the mix as well, so these teams have something to play for. It's going to be really cold. It's going to be 5 degrees in Green Bay on the frozen tundra. This is a game where you can look for Aaron Rodgers to be number 6 on the quarterback rankings. Kirk Cousins, Mr. Steady Eddie, Mr. Mendoza, number 16 on the rankings for Minnesota. Looking at the running back situation, Dalvin Cook should be fully back this week. Number 6 on the running back rankings. Aaron Jones right there with him at number 7. And, A.J. Dillon has been relevant. He's number 29 on the rankings for Green Bay. Looking at the wide receiver, Justin Jefferson, what a year this guy's been having. We'd be talking about him as one of the top, if not the top receiver in the league, maybe second to Devontae Adams. But Cooper Kupp is just tearing it up. But I got Justin Jefferson at number 2 this week, and I got Devontae Adams right there with him at number 3. It's funny how that works. Going over to a number 2 wide receiver for either team, not so much right now. Maybe a KJ Osborne at 37 for Minnesota, and a tremendous drop-off for Green Bay as well. Looking at the tight end situation, Tyler Conklin at number 16, and you have to go way down on the list for number 26, Josiah DeGara for Green Bay. I don't think I'm going to be playing him. This is going to be an excellent game. I'm glad it's on Sunday night. It's a showcase game. I'm going to have to go with Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers at home.
Yeah, Green Bay is in a position where they're fighting for first place in the NFC. This is a team that has put themselves in fine footing stepping forward. So, Green Bay definitely has a ton to fight for now and a lot to stick with as Dallas is surging, Arizona is falling, and the Rams are starting to, wake up again. So, there's a lot of good being had here right now in the NFC, and nobody can't afford to take any time off. I love seeing it down the stretch because that means that maybe if you do have a championship in Week 18, then some of these starters may have to continue to play because of the fact that, they're fighting for that. Remember, with an extra team added to each side in the NFC and the AFC, instead of 6 teams, now there's 7. That means only one team gets a bye week in round 1, and that's the number 1 seed. So if you're the number 2 seed, you do not have a first round off. You don't have that week off. So that's very meaningful, even more meaningful right now for these teams that are fighting to be the number 1 team in the NFC and the AFC. So Green Bay's got a lot to fight for still. Delvin Cook right now on the injury report. He's on the COVID-19 report. If he stays on it, Alexander Madison has value. If he comes off of it, just watch that. Justin Jefferson definitely has value in this game. And Adam Thielen has some value, but he's questionable with an ankle injury. Tyler Conklin, I still think, is a lower-end tight end 1. But Jefferson, the best look right now. If Cook's able to go, then he gets more value. Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon, Devontae Adams, all value on this side of things. Make it easy for you. I'm picking Green Bay in this matchup with Mr. Sofka. Final game we have, Monday Night Football. The Browns and the Steelers. Cut and paste. The Browns aren't who we thought they could be. And the Steelers, well, they're playing everybody pretty dang close in what looks to be the swan song of Ben Roethlisberger. What are your thoughts, Mike?
Yeah, again, if I told you at the beginning of the year that in Week 17 you'd have a team that's 7-8 and a team that's 7-1, and both are still alive in the playoff race. 75% of the teams are still alive. There's 8 teams that are eliminated: Carolina, Chicago, Seattle, the Giants, Detroit, the Jets, Houston, and the Jaguars. So both of these teams still have something good for you. You hit the nail right on the head, Dan. That's great for fantasy players because these guys aren't on the bench. They aren't resting for first-round buys. Looking at the quarterback play has been a disappointment at best for both of these teams, especially considering the caliber and our level of expectation for both of these players. Baker Mayfield and Ben Roethlisberger, 21 and 23 respectively on the rankings this week. Running back, this is the premium on both teams. Nick Chubb, number 3 on the rankings, followed by Najee Harris right behind him at number 4. Both guys shouldn't come off the field at all. And looking at the wide receiver situation, this is a bit of a difference. Deontay Johnson's been stepping up. He's obviously the best receiver for Pittsburgh, and he's the best receiver in this game, number 10 on the rankings here. And then I have to go way down for Jarvis Landry to number 35, and there's a tremendous drop-off on both teams after that. And same thing at tight end. I'm not playing a tight end for either one of these teams. I'm going to go with Cleveland on the road in Pittsburgh in 29-degree weather to win this one, because I just think they have that little extra something going for them. I can't put my finger on what it is. It's that factor that, I think they're better than Pittsburgh this year. So that's what I'm going with. I'm going with the Browns on the road.
It might be a staph infection, Mike. Remember when they had a bunch of those? That might be the little itch that you have. I don't know, but but it's the Browns at the Steelers in this Monday night matchup. The Steelers, for being a team that hasn't been that great and is right at the equator line, they have gotten a ton of Sunday night and Monday night opportunities. I feel like I'm watching them pretty much every single week, no matter where I am in America. So, that's something positive to be said about the swan song for Ben Roethlisberger. For Cleveland's side of things, Nick Chubb is worth the play. Kareem Hunt got me no points last week. That's why he's on my bench, because he's been hurt. He's still questionable with an ankle injury. Austin Hooper's got some value here, and Jarvis Landry being back a little bit. But to me, the value lies with Nick Chubb. I do have Jarvis as a lower-end wide receiver, too. On the other side of it, Najee Harris has the value in Deontay Johnson. Pat Freiermuth, my dude, coming off a concussion. God bless, and hopefully he'll be okay. I temper your thoughts on bringing him out. Really, to me, it's Najee Harris and Deontay Johnson. Chase Claypool, quiet, and I don't see a ton of value in him. I know some of the guys have stepped up but haven't been consistent. Your Chase Claypools, your Ray McLeods, and your James Washingtons. Really, it's been Deontay Johnson and Najee Harris, so those are the guys I'd go with in fantasy. I'm going to go with the Steelers at home in this one and believe that they will keep their hopes alive, as somehow, some way, could we still see Big Ben in the playoffs? Crazy, but it could happen. Time has not run out on that Big Ben clock yet. So with that being said, going with the Steelers in that one. And Mike, as always, I appreciate it. Thank you. Happy New Year, my brother. And when I talk to you again, it'll be 2022.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm excited, and thanks again for the opportunity. It's been a great year. We're not done. We do this 365 days a year, whether it's online or whether it's on the air here. So we appreciate everybody tuning in, and we appreciate the questions that we get to. We're glad to answer those. Even after the broadcast, I'm answering them on YouTube and stuff. So that's a great thing. So thank you once again, Dan. I look forward to seeing you in 2022.
Absolutely, sir. Take care of yourself and be well. We'll talk soon.
All right.
Take care.
Thank you.
So with that being said, Mr. Mike Sofka here with us on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and thank him so much for being a part of the show. The Fantasy Football Power Hour, not a, the Fantasy Football Power Hour, presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York, open 7 days a week for indoor dining. All the games, no matter, lacrosse, basketball, football, baseball, college football, college basketball, on and on and on and on. It's all there for you at the Wildcat. And, of course, takeout and delivery, 315-487-2222. That's 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat. And as Mike said, we love answering your questions. We will answer them after the broadcast is over. So if you go to Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, YouTube.com/Wake Up Call DT, you will find us there. And, of course, you can check us out on the Fantasy Football tab on wakeupcalldt.com. If you have a question, you can obviously answer. We can answer it for you after the show goes live. We'll share this video on YouTube as well, on Twitter as well at CallDT. So if you have a question, don't hesitate to send it over to us. We love answering your questions, and we thank you so much for sending them our way. So with that being said, want to send you all my love. And I definitely appreciate you all so very much for tuning in to the broadcast on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You're listening and watching every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, where sports meets that thing called life. You're watching and listening on YouTube.com/Wake Up Call DT, Facebook.com/Wake Up Call DT, Facebook.com/Live Now DT, and on MixLR.com/Wake Up Call DT, as well as on WakeUpCallDT.com. Once the shows go live, they get sent right to the archive. Stitcher, Spotify, MixLR, YouTube, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Spotify, and Podbean. Search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on your favorite podcasting and video platforms, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora would also like to thank our Central and Upstate New York partners, Cafe Kubal, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, Ma and Pa's Kettle, I don't know why I just said it like that, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, Ma and Pa's available to you all across the country at maandpazpopcorn.com. You can now get what we can all get in Central and Upstate New York. You can get it anywhere in the country by going to maandpazpopcorn.com and ordering online and having it delivered to your doorstep. In a world where we love Amazon and all these deliveries and different ways to connect, Ma and Pa's will deliver right to you if you go to maandpazpopcorn.com. And of course, you can go to Ma and Pa's at 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. If you buy any one of their tins, you can refill those tins at half price for the rest of your life. I didn't stutter on that one. Rest of your life, half price. Progressive Dental, Avicoli's, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Millhouse Market, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, the Lemoyne Dolphins, Pizza Man, Honda City of Liverpool, PB&J's Lunchbox, Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, and Mother's Cupboard. And with that being said, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is the proud multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne Dolphins. The Lemoyne College Dolphins hanging out with you every single Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, just like today. Set it as Dolphin Time on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Unprecedented access you will find with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and the Lemoyne College Dolphins in our Dolphin Time every Wednesday, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. First and third Wednesday, AD and DT with Athletics Director Bob Beretta and myself, Dan Tortora, picking a specific topic every episode. And Dolphin Dive every second and fourth Wednesday with a student athlete, coach, or staff member of Lemoyne saying why Lemoyne and telling their awesome stories like you've never heard them and seen them anywhere else. Thank you to Bob for his incredible words toward the work that we're trying to do here at Wake Up Call. I appreciate it. I thank him and Linda Lemura and the entire staff at Lemoyne College in the athletic department and the scholastic department. God bless and fins up all the time. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is also the proud multimedia marketing partner of your Marywood University Pacers. It is Pacer Pride all day, day with the Marywood University Pacers. They are here with us on Fridays to round out the weeks on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We appreciate the Marywood Pacers all the time, and I am so excited to have them here with us each and every single month. Pacer Pride is the exclusive content that you will find on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, the Marywood tab on wakeupcalldt.com, and of course, Executive Director of Athletics Pat Murphy, coaches and student athletes joining us throughout the year to show you why Marywood is the place to be. Shout out to the Pacers. Find out more at marywoodpacers.com. With that being said, I want to say thank you for listening and watching from the Cafe Kubal Studios. You are awesome. God bless to each and every single one of you. We gave you about 3 hours today. Under promise, over deliver. Thank you for your patience this morning. Wake Up Call can be found at Wake Up Call DT on Facebook, at Call DT on Twitter, at Wake Up Call _DT on Instagram, youtube.com/Wake Up Call DT. Subscribe there and subscribe on wakeupcalldt.com. It's all free. It's all easy. And, of course, God bless, no stress, do your best. I'll talk with you all soon. Have yourselves a fantastic week. Thank you to all of our support